evening, folks. Alright, good evening, folks. Hopefully this is going on everything. Showing that it's working on Rumble. I'm not sure, but yeah, okay. Yep, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and Telegram. So, welcome to Monday Night Law. Oh, what is this? October 3rd, 2022. So I gotta try and move some stuff around here so I can see. Let's see what happens here. Okay, there we go. That one's working. Of course. Boy, this is gonna be a tight one. Trying to fit four different windows so I can see the chat, which I'll need to make a post here. Go. So on Telegram there, I've created that to make your comments for the live there so that I can watch those. Maybe. I don't know. Slip that over here. There. How about that? I wonder if that makes the audio any better there. And that's good. That's good. Now, what about this one? So how's everybody's week? Was it as fun and exciting and eventful as mine was? More moving stuff. Now let's see. How do I get to... Okay, there it is. All right. All right, how's the volume out there? Everything good over there? I had my microphone turned way out of the way over there, so. Probably was a little low, according to my software. Yeah, we should be pretty good. Hope everybody's safe and sound over there in Florida. And those, after the hurricane there. So tonight I was going to go over a little, maritime. I wanted to play this video. Now if I can remember where the heck it's at. Is it this one? No. No, that's not it. Okay, let's see. How the heck am I going to get this?
Let me give you another. It just strikes me. Let me give.
Yeah, but how do I get it over here? On this screen? I guess I have to bring it over here. I wonder if I can just do that.
Let me give you another. It just strikes me. Let me give you a quick example about the maritime law, the law of water.
Okay, so this man's going to briefly talk about maritime law here, law of the water, right? So let's see what really happens here, and then I'm going to go into some other stuff. So let's go ahead and just listen to this gentleman here, and let's see what he has to say.
The law of the sea. Money is water by law. So when a ship, this is why all ships are female by law. All ships, rocket ship, sailing ship, airship, it doesn't matter. If it's a ship, it's female.
Right.
Because the captain always refers to his ship as she.
Right.
She's a good ship, or she's done this. Why she? Because she delivers the product.
Like the
Without
vessel.
she, there is no product, right?
It's a vessel. It's a
Of course it is a vessel. So
Right.
is your body. It's a vessel that produces a product. So when the ship pulls into harbor, it stops, and where it parks is called its berth. It's berthing a ship, or she sits in her berth. And every item on that ship, coming off that ship, is a money. It's money changing hands. And it came in on water. So it's called, so every piece has to have what is called a certificate of manifest, because she is sitting in her berth. That's why when you were born, your mother's water broke. You were inside a container of water. Her water broke and you came out, and therefore you have to have a birth certificate.
Wow.
And it's got to be signed by the dock, because that's where the ship is sitting. That the dock is where the ship sits. So once you begin to see how the words and terms are all based on maritime admiralty, the law of water, the cash flow, the liquid asset.
Just in English, the dock, the water.
Yeah, of course. But of course, it goes all the way back to the English or British domination of the seas.
Oh.
And so when the British began to dominate the seas, the Knights Templar Masonic Order of the Knights Templars, who have been in the middle of Asia, came back into Western Eastern Europe, brought all of these concepts, and it was developed into a commercial system of words and terms and symbols which are used in courts and government and corporations. You know, your body is a corporation. No, that's a whole story. We could talk for hours on this, but your body is a corporation.
Of cells, you mean?
No. It's called, and by law, your body, your physical body is a corporation. And so when you die, you're a corpse. Because when you're living, you're a corporation. You are a business. And hanging out with that person is bad business.
Right.
Or who I hang out with is none of your business.
Right.
Because your body is a business. And so you say, well, what you're doing with her, I have a bad business.
Right.
But of course, if you get married and she's very wealthy, you say she's of good stock. Right? Words and terms are based on maritime admiralty, the law of water. And so that's why when you go into a court, you have a fence and a gate. The people sit out here and the judge sits inside. The gate is called a floodgate. When you go through the canal, you have a floodgate.
Right.
So when you're sitting out here, you're in the law of the land. The judge has no control or no jurisdiction over the people sitting out here. No jurisdiction whatsoever.
Right, because we're outside the gate.
That's outside the gate.
Right.
That's on land.
Right.
But when you walk past that gate, now you're in hot water. And someone's gonna have to.
Well, apparently y'all can't hear that very good, so I'm not sure what's going on here with my audio. It should have been picking that up just fine. Stream track, yeah. Well, I apologize for that. I'm not sure how it's supposed to be picking that up. Okay, it's good on Telegram, but not on YouTube. Let me see. I'm just gonna try a little trick here. Let's see.
Bail you out.
Bail, yeah.
Okay.
Bail, excellent. Did you write a book about all these men?
No, I've just been studying it for 48 years.
Wow.
But it's fascinating because when you understand that the whole subject is so large, and it would take hours and I'd have to go back to square one and walk through all the words and terms that he used in law and courts and commerce.
Yeah.
For you to understand how pervasive this concept of water is on the earth.
Wow.
The law of water, maritime admiralty, it's an extraordinary story about how governments rule the world. And unless you understand this, you're never going to figure out what's going on. Well, look at it. When you walk into a courtroom and they call your name, you get up and you put your hand on the gate and you open the gate. The moment you put your hand on the gate, by international law, you of your own volition have opened yourself up to maritime admiralty law, because you are on the law of the land. As long as you don't touch that gate and go through it, you haven't opened the floodgate. Now, once you open the floodgate, there's a piece of wood on top of that gate, and it's called the bar, and you're not licensed to pass the bar. So what you've done is you've opened the floodgate, but you weren't licensed to pass the bar.
So what does that
So
mean?
that means that you are dead. You are now dead. Once you touch that, you are dead.
Because you're no longer in control of
That's right. You are dead. Well, you're considered to be a dead man. That's why the attorney has to speak for you. He has to represent
Why
you.
are you dead? Because
you went into the deep water and you died. You drowned.
Because you weren't licensed. Because you weren't.
Right. You were not licensed to pass the bar. And the bar represents a sandbar in the ocean. But the bar is what the attorneys are licensed to pass, but you're not. So the point being is that when you open that gate of your own volition, you are considered by law to be a dead man.
Really?
That's why you cannot talk to the judge, because dead people don't talk to judges. So you will need an attorney who is your mouthpiece. He speaks for you because you're dead.
Well, should we do away with courts so people can get their lives back?
I would think that what you want to do is understand how the system works.
And avoid it.
And avoid it if you can. Let me give you another, it just strikes me, let me give you
Okay. So that's that whole part of this the scheme, scam, and fraud of the bar, right? Using the law of the water when we're supposed to be what? Law of the land. Common law. Common law of the land. So we know that that's fraud. It's all bar word salad. It's a huge scheme, scam, and fraud of the bar. So this is part of going back to the common law and going, well, wait a minute here. So lack of personal jurisdiction. Those all them words, fancy words you're using are wrong diction. You see, this is part of the trickery. We're being subjected to this trickery. Well, actually, Mark, on YouTube here, we've talked about that, but the problem is Article 3, Section 2 doesn't delegate common law jurisdiction. Common law jurisdiction is retained by the people. Article 3, Section 2 enumerates 2 jurisdictions: admiralty and maritime. That's it. There is no original jurisdiction of common law. See Article the 7th. It can't be heard in any courts of the United States except for pursuant to the rules of the common law, and that's after. So remember the federal government, federalism, that was created by the states. We already had common law jurisdiction. That's a power retained by the people, because the people live at the common law. Man lives at the common law. And when we look at that, right? Would you look at that? Because reading means reading. Oh, probably gotta put that over there. Oh, let's see, which one do I want? Probably this one. Nowhere does it mention common law. Article 3 is the judicial branch, right? So we'll just start with our Article 3 there. The judicial power of the United States. Okay, this is the judicial power of the United States. This is being a delegation of power. Shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges both of the Supreme and inferior courts shall hold their offices during good behavior, and shall, at stated times, receive their services a compensation, which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. That's great. Now, the judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution. Okay. These are suits in law. Under what jurisdictions again? To all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction. I do not see common law there. Because reading means reading. There is no common law jurisdiction delegated to the federal government, to the federalism, federal side. Okay? Now, this is where I get into suits in law and in equity. For what? It's an equitable interest in citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states and between a state or citizens. Oh, wait a minute. That's that equitable interest in the land, suits in equity type stuff. Because it doesn't say anything else. You got suits in law and equity. And they have to arise under this Constitution. The common law came before the Constitution, which again is real law. Rights as the law. It's pretty simple when let's just take government completely out of the picture. Let's just forget that there's even a constitution, state or federal constitution. We have absolutely no instrument of government. Would we still have law? Would we still have rights? Well, yes. Because we still have a common law. A law that is common to all. Like, thou shalt not commit murder. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Because that's God's law, and God is the creator. But let's look at Hale versus Hinkle for a little clarification here. One of my favorite cases. If whenever, let's see. If whenever an officer or an employee of a corporation were summoned before a grand jury as a witness, he could refuse to produce the books and documents of such corporation upon the ground that they would incriminate the corporation itself, it would result in the failure of a large number of cases where the illegal combination was determined only upon the examination of such papers. Conceding that the witness was an officer of the corporation under investigation, and that he was entitled to assert the rights of corporation with respect to the production of its books and papers, we are of the opinion that there is a clear distinction in this particular between an individual and a corporation. Okay. So, and that the latter, which is the corporation, so we're looking at between an individual and a corporation, the latter being the corporation, has no right to refuse to submit its books and papers for examination at the suit of the state. Now, to the contrary on that would be the individual has every right to refuse to submit its books and papers for examination at the suit of a state, because that suits in law. They cannot do suits at law, because suits at law are suits between man and man. They do not have personal jurisdiction over man, which is exactly what I'm referring to and why I started off with this maritime law of water, this artificial conversion of man into a corporation. It's fraud. You cannot convert man because you're not the sovereign. God is the sovereign. God is the creator. You cannot alter what God has created. You cannot alter what the sovereign has created. It's a fact. Now, the individual may stand upon his constitutional rights as a citizen. Okay, we don't have constitutional rights. We have God-given rights, natural rights. They're just rights. He is entitled to carry on his private business in his own way. His power to contract is unlimited. That's why it says there shall be no law impairing the obligations of a contract. Now, the real deal here is the exception to that rule of law is fraud, where fraud vitiates everything from its inception, void ab initio. Now, he owes no duty to the state or to his neighbors to divulge his business, which means there's a lack of personal jurisdiction over man, or to open his doors to an investigation, because there's a lack of personal jurisdiction over man. So far as it may tend to incriminate him, he owes no such duty to the state, since he receives nothing therefrom beyond the protection of his life and property. Now, right here, his rights are such existed by the law of the land, long antecedent to the organization of the state, and can only be taken from him by due process of law and in accordance with the Constitution. But see, due process of law comes from the common law, the common law of the land, not law of the water and not law of the air. Now, among his rights or refusal, right, Fifth Amendment, or Article the 5th of the Bill of Rights, to incriminate himself and the immunity of himself and his property from arrest or seizure, except, there's one exception here, under a warrant of the law. He owes nothing to the public, so long as he does not what? Trespass upon their rights. Again, because rights are our property. This is why it's called a common law trespass. Okay? So the point I want to hammer home here is a lack of personal jurisdiction. No part of government, state or federal, has personal jurisdiction over man. None. Zero. Doesn't exist. Okay? So we need to start, we need to have a frequent reoccurrence to fundamental principles of law. Okay? We need to be looking at our rights as the law. Because, right? The word right and law both come from the French word droit. So they're synonymous. They mean the same thing. There's no way around it, right? Right means law, and law means right, which comes from the French word droit. Well, technically speaking, man does have jurisdiction over man. Contracts, or if a man deprives a fundamental right or infringes on a fundamental right or causes damages, causes harm. Now you've got jurisdiction over man. Suits between man and man. Government does not have personal jurisdiction over man because man is in the private. He's not in law. He is at law. Okay? Well, I'm talking about personal jurisdiction right now. I know about subject matter, right? The subject, you look at Constitution, that's, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. We can go back here and look at subject matter jurisdiction, scope of legislative power. This is subject matter jurisdiction. Where in here does it say they have subject matter jurisdiction over any of our rights? Uh-oh. Well, wait a minute. Why is that? Because we didn't give them power over our rights. Okay, we're going to take a look at American Jurisprudence, Volume 16, Constitutional Law. Section 100 is where we're headed. And this is August 2017 update I got from the Law Library back in 2017. All right. A constitution is usually a declaration of principles of the fundamental law, many of its provisions being only commands to the legislature to enact laws to carry out the purposes of the framers of the Constitution, or mere restrictions upon the power of the legislature to pass laws. However, it is entirely within the power of those who establish and adopt the Constitution to make any of its provisions self-executing, that is, operative without any necessity for further legislation. Criteria which may be relevant in determining whether a constitutional provision is self-executing or not include a description of the right in detail, such as the means for its enjoyment and protection, the absence of any directive to the legislature for further action, which it will usually say, and the legislature shall have the power to make legislation regarding this. If that phrase isn't there, they don't have it. They don't have subject matter jurisdiction to create legislation because it's self-executing. But let's read on. Okay? a particularly informative legislative history as to the provision's intended operation, and a consistency of self-execution with the scheme of rights established in the Constitution as a whole. Now, we're talking about in the Constitution itself. Okay, we're not talking about bills of rights. Here we go. Even without the benefit of a declaration that they are self-executing, Constitution revisions in bills of rights, that's plural. So every single bill of rights out there, and those merely declaratory of the what? Common law, are usually considered self-executing, as are provisions which specifically prohibit particular conduct. Well, why would bills of rights be the common law? Because rights are the law. And it's just merely declaratory of the common law. Right? This goes back to the Alexander Hamilton's quote there about we're not supposed to be rummaging through old parchments. Our rights are supposed to be like a sunbeam. Right? Okay, we're already supposed to know this stuff. Our rights don't come from a piece of paper. The Constitution, government does. Okay, so now that we know that, I want to go right straight to number 1. 16, volume 16. Constitutional Law, Section 1. So we can comprehend, again, what a constitution is. As used herein, the word constitution means a declaration of fundamental laws or principles for the government of a nation or state. The Constitution is government. It is the instrument. It creates. And again, the word government. There's some people out there that grasp the concept of the government is mind control. You're absolutely correct. But the problem is you think it's meant to control our minds, and that's false. No, we're controlling the minds of the fictions that were created in the Constitution itself. So, for instance, the state constitution enumerates governor, lieutenant governor, the treasurer, the superintendent of public instruction. Okay, all of those things we have to create the mind of. And this is why they are servants to discharge the duties of that office. And we have to comprehend that the Constitution is government, and it is to govern the minds of the men and women, or the people, who are elected or appointed into a position of public trust, right? To discharge the duties of that office, the emoluments of that office. Okay? That Constitution controls the mind of the man or woman who takes that seat or the emoluments of that office. Right? Because, look, a constitution represents the supreme written will of the people regarding the framework for their government. Where a constitution asserts a certain right or lays down a certain principle of law or procedure, it speaks for the entire people as their supreme law. And it is the paramount authority for all that is done in pursuance of its provisions. Okay? So that means they better be able to point to the Constitution and go, here's my source of authority to do what I just did or I'm about to do. Because if it isn't there, it doesn't exist. This ideology or this concept of, oh, well, it doesn't say that I can't. No. It is the instrument of government. It controls the mind of It dictates what your scope and authority is. Okay? A constitution thus embodies fundamental values and articulates the citizens' common aspirations for constitutional governance and the rule of law. A state constitution likewise is the supreme written will of the people of the state regarding the framework for their government, and is subject to only limitations found in the federal constitution. That's right. Although a constitution may be either written, as in the case of the United States, or unwritten, as in the Great Britain, the word constitution, as applied to the organization of our federal and state governments, always implies a written document, which is understood to have been enacted by the direct action of the people, providing for the form of their government and defining the powers of the several departments within it, thus creating a fundamental law which is absolute and unalterable. Now, here's the thing, here it is, unalterable except through amendment by the people from which it emanated. In other words, it has to be altered by the way that it says it can be altered, through a convention. There is no other way to alter the Constitution but by and through a convention. The only exception to that is at a state level, the people themselves, not the legislature, the people can propose amendments to the Constitution and put it to a vote to the people at the next election cycle. So, well, yep, Article 5 for federal. It's not Article 5 in your state. Uh-oh, losing my... Oh, this is not nice. But Article 5, yes, for the federal Constitution. It is a convention. You must have a convention of the states in order to alter the federal Constitution. Otherwise, it is absolute and unalterable. Not by any enactment. Right? Because again, it's fundamental law, which is absolute. Constitutional law, which deals with the interpretation and construction of constitutions and the application of this fundamental law to statutes and other public acts because of the American governmental system, occupies an extremely important position in the jurisprudence of this country. Because constitutions in this country, rather than stating inflexible specific rules of conduct, contain broad principles capable of accommodating societal changes. Because it is the law of the land, which literally means due process of law. It provides the remedy or the process. Because remedy and process are synonymous. You want to obtain the relief, you have to follow the process that is due, pursuant to the law of the land. Thus, constitutional provisions gather meaning from the experience of the people, and courts should expect that modern society will mold and shape constitutional principles into new and useful forms. That's the thing, is that it's a little blurring the lines there, because we can't alter a principle. 2 + 2 = 4. Let me know when you think you can alter the principles of mathematics that dictate the correct answer. You're insane if you think that you can alter the fundamental principles of mathematics. It would totally destroy mathematics if one man had the power to alter the fundamental principles of mathematics. Now this is where we get into the statutes, right? This is Section 2, Volume 16, American Jurisprudence, Volume 16, Constitutional Law, Section 2. There's a clear distinction between constitutions and statutes, isn't there? Well, not really, because this is all man-made. In reality, it's all man-made. The Constitution differs from a statute in that a statute ordinarily provides some details, here we go, of the subject of which it treats. Whereas a constitution usually states broad general principles and builds a substantial foundation and general framework of the law and the government. Oh, wait a minute. General framework of the law and the government? That's right, because the Bills of Rights lay down the law. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted. We have to lay down the law first. But it's already the law. The Constitution is the framework of the government containing the general principles upon which the government must function. Intended not merely to remedy existing conditions, but to govern future contingencies. What's the Constitution say? It provides the remedy, the process. What's the process to do this? You want to do something? You got to read the Constitution to find the process, not the statutes. Okay? The Constitution dictates. Rights dictate, because that's the law. All right. Laws of the jurisdiction embodies principles upon which the jurisdiction's government was founded. A constitution is made for the people and by the people, and is above all an embodiment of the will of the people, deriving its force directly from the people themselves. Statutes, by contrast, are enactments. That's the key word there, enactments. And rules for the government of civil conduct. Oh, that's right, it's supposed to control their conduct. But statutes first. No, I mean Constitution first. Because without the Constitution, we don't have government. And therefore, if we don't have government, the legislature can't create the statutes. Putting the cart before the horse. Promulgated by the legislative authority of a state. Instead of general principles, a statute provides details of the subject of the statute. Because constitutions constitute the supreme law, they preempt contrary statutes or rules, and stand above legislative law. Thus, where a constitution speaks plainly on a particular matter, it must be given force and effect as the paramount law, and where a statute or other rule and a constitutional provision are in conflict, the constitutional provision must prevail. So, don't you think it would behoove us to read our state constitutions? I think we really need to be reading. We really need to be reading our state constitutions so that we know what the limitations of power are. Because constitutional provisions must prevail. It's the paramount. It's the supreme written will of the people. It is absolute and unalterable. That's where we get into usurpation of power, maladministration, malfeasance, subversion of law, seditious conspiracy to overthrow the law, treason, giving aid to our enemy. Look at the Declaration of Independence. You start acting like a tyrant, you're giving aid to our enemy, because tyrants are our declared enemy. And it's the characteristics and conduct of a tyrant. So when you start acting like a tyrant, looks like a tyrant, walks like a tyrant, talks like a tyrant, it probably is a tyrant. That's our declared enemy. So giving aid to our enemy is acting like a tyrant. It has been said that a constitution has been a higher form of statutory law. So that, for example, the state constitution is looked to where a court is searching for statutory law on a subject. And there is no relevant statute per se. In any event, both constitutional and statutory principles should be liberally construed to further the goal of allowing the people to express their will. but it must be narrowly construed. And no time do we liberally construe in favor of the government. This is one of those little sentences there that make you think, oh, well, we can, it could mean this. No. It's always to be narrowly construed for government and liberally construed for the people. But there again, if you're not bound by it, if you're not a member, you're not bound by it, it doesn't apply to you. How can something apply to you that's made by man if you're not bound by it? You didn't give your consent. It's for government. It's for them to discharge the duties of the offices created in the Constitution itself. And again, they are the supreme law. They preempt contrary statutes or rules and stand above legislative law. Thus, where a constitution speaks plainly on a particular matter, it must be given force and effect as the paramount law. Man, right? Man is created free and equal. Well, I'll be darned. Isn't that how that works? Man. That's the status, right? Can't change that. There's no way to change your status as man, creation of God. What does that say? Inalienable rights of man. Not persons, not national. Okay? This says rights of man. And then you have political powers inherent in the people. Now you want to change your status, you got to become one of the people to have political power. So, let's look at one of these constitutional provisions that are mandatory. All men are by nature free and equal, and have certain inalienable rights, among which are enjoying and defending life and liberty. So we're free and equal, and we have the right to what? Enjoy life and liberty, and defend life and liberty. Oh, we have the right to acquire, possess, and protect property. We have the right to acquire, possess, and protect property. Yeah, okay. Pursuing happiness and securing... wait, what? We secure our own safety, not government. Not in the sense of what we're talking about here. We're talking about the rights of man while out on, what? Adventure. Pursuing happiness. We secure our safety. Government is supposed to protect us from invasion and domestic violence, which is internal insurrection, an attempt to overthrow the Constitution, the laws of its creation, and war against the people. That's what we instituted government, right? That to secure these rights, governments are instituted? When any of our rights are being trespassed upon, the government is supposed to step in and say, I don't think so. Now, unless we're talking about at common law trespass, okay? Otherwise, we're the ones that are supposed to be securing our own safety and defending our life and liberty, not government. Again, they're only supposed to be protecting us from invasion and domestic violence, internal insurrection. Okay, so it would behoove us to learn what our rights are. There are so many rights, they're not even all enumerated here. And you're gonna, if you really want to peruse and try to find the best that you can that's written, you got to read all 50 different states' Declaration of Rights, because some states enumerate certain rights and some states don't. This is the beauty of our nation, the Union. Here in America, the nation is called America here. Idaho is the country. Washington is the country. New York is a country. What you think is a state is a country. Because America is the nation. So this is what I'm trying to get you folks to comprehend about lack of personal jurisdiction. They do not have personal jurisdiction over man. Right? This is from the common law, okay? Pleading in the form of demur, not guilty or guilty, pleading in the form of demur. But they will tell you, oh, you could only plead guilty or not guilty. Who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? I am man, creation of God, of lawful age, of sound mind, and perfectly capable of handling my administrative duties. Thank you. Don't try to tell me anything. Don't tell me what I can and can't do, because that violates and comes in conflict with the laws of nature being free and equal. That we got some sort of dictator out there dictating. I don't think so. Not on my watch. Not allowing that to happen here. Okay? So this is where we have to get back to these fundamental principles and comprehend that they do not have personal jurisdiction over man. And Hale versus Hinkle is one of the cases that kind of really puts that out there. You know, let's go back to this real quick. Upon the other hand, because we talked about the individual, right? The corporation is a creature of the state. Now, I really want people to comprehend this, so follow me here for a minute, real close. The corporation is a creature of the state. The state, being the sovereign, creates the corporation, like McDonald's. Okay? It is presumed to be in, this is in law, incorporated into the body politic. And because it's created by the state, by statute, okay, it is presumed to be incorporated for the benefit of the public. It receives certain special privileges and franchises and holds them subject to the laws of the state and the limitations of its charter, corporate charter. Kind of like a constitution, conscience, right? Its powers are limited by law, by laws of a corporation. The creature of the state. The state creates the statutes and grants certain special privileges and franchises. Okay? Its powers are limited by law, can make no contract not authorized by its charter. Its rights to act as a corporation are only preserved to it so long as it obeys the laws of its creation. Now this next sentence here, pay really close attention. There is a reserved right in the legislature to investigate its contracts and find out whether it exceeded its powers. Now, this is what I'm trying to get people to grasp the concept about going to the legislature to revoke, right? To revoke to see if they've exceeded the laws of its creation. The legislature does the investigation to see if it's exceeded the laws of its creation, its powers, which is what? Limited by law. Those statutes. But it's also limited by the Constitution itself and our rights, because the legislature can't grant special privileges and franchises that are contrary to the law. Now, let's go look at that reserved right. That's that political powers inherent in the people. Government is instituted for their equal protection and benefit, and they have the right to alter, reform, or abolish the same whenever they may deem it necessary. Now, here's those key words again. And no special privileges. Or immunities shall ever be granted that may not be altered, revoked, or repealed by the legislature. That's the business license. Okay? So you get these jackwagons out there like St. Luke's here in Idaho, who's still continuing to try to force people to wear a mask to come in. We can go to the legislature and revoke their business license, especially the hospitals, because these are state-ran hospitals. They want to claim that they're private. Really? Do you take Medicare? Medicaid? Why do you ask for name, birth date, and social security number if this is private? Seems to me you're hitting the Cesta K Vi Trust. Seems to me you're getting, getting them taxpayer dollars. Medicare, Medicaid. No, these are state-ran hospitals. Make no mistake. They are public. They may try to claim that, well, we're private. What do you mean? You mean like privately owned? But it's state-ran. Do not be deceived. Okay? So, this is the right dictating that we go to the legislature. Remember constitutional provisions regarding procedure or remedy? Yeah, the right dictates. This is the rights. This is Declaration of Rights here. Why are we not following what the right dictates? Why are we not following due process of law? Law of the land. Again, I know I've gone over this a few times, many times over the years, but there it is again, We have to grasp the concept of what our powers are and how to claim and exercise these rights to effectively defend ourselves. The people shall have the right to assemble in a peaceable manner, to consult for their common good, to instruct their representatives, and to petition the legislature for the redress of grievances. I'm going to reiterate this again. There is a reserved right in the legislature. These are reserved powers retained by the people, because this was the law laid down before government was instituted. Remember, them rights are long antecedent to the formation of the state. To investigate. Well, I'll be darned. Let's just go over here to kirkslawcorner.com real quick. For those of you not aware of this website, my website, right here to that library tab. There's that Mason's Manual of Legislative Procedure. we're going to go down to Section 10. Uh-oh. Had to think there for a second. Should be actually. Oh, we're only in part 5, pardon me, part 10, not chapter or section, it's part 10. Come on. Part 8. I thought it was before that, but maybe it's not. Part 9. Part 10, Investigations and Public Order. All be darned, this is a rule of procedure. Huh. The right of the legislative body to make investigations in order to assist in the preparation of wise and timely laws must exist as an indispensable incident auxiliary to the proper exercise of legislative power. This has been recognized from the earliest times. Okay, this is talking about making stuff. The legislature has the power to investigate any subject regarding which it may desire information in connection with the proper discharge of its functions, to enact, amend, or repeal statutes, or to perform any other act delegated to it by the Constitution. But see, we already know that the legislature, well, the people have the right to petition the legislature for the redress of grievances. The right dictates that, not the Constitution. Legislation. See, this is trying to talk about the legislation itself. But then you get into investigations respecting members. The general rule that the legislature has no power through itself or any committee or an agency to make inquiry into the private affairs of a citizen except to accomplish some authorized end. Oh, what? You can't go into the private? That's right. Legislature has no right to conduct an investigation for the purpose of laying a foundation for the institution of criminal proceedings, for the aid and benefit of grand juries in planning indictments, for the purpose of intentionally injuring such persons, or for any ulterior purpose. Which is weird, because I thought they did prosecution for removal of officers for like treason. Aren't they impeachment? Sole power of impeachment's in the House, and the sole power to try all impeachments is in the Senate. An investigation instituted for political purposes and not connected with intended legislation or with the intended matters which the House should act as not a proper legislative proceeding and is beyond the authority of the House or legislature. When a committee is appointed by resolution to make an investigation, the object of the investigation, as shown by the resolution, is not a proper legislative object, but is to establish an extraordinary tribunal for the trial of judicial and other officers. What? Establish an extraordinary tribunal. See, the legislature has the power to create tribunals for the trial of judicial and other officers. The duties imposed on the commission being strictly judicial and not ancillary to legislation, the committee has no legal status. A governmental investigation in the papers of a private corporation on the possibility that they may disclose evidence of crime is contrary to the first principles of justice, and an intention to grant power must be expressed in explicit language. But see, they're talking about private. But it's not. It can't be a corporation if it's in the private. Because corporations are incorporated in law, in the public. They get that business license. The investigatory power of the legislative body is limited to obtaining information on matters that fall within its proper field of legislative action, which would be to revoke their business license. That is a power properly belonging to the legislature because our right dictates that, and Hale versus Henkel backs that up. This is back to our Republican form of government. Who has what power? Method of investigation by a legislative body. The legislative arm of government is not to be restricted in the exercise. We should probably blow that up a little bit, huh? Is not to be restricted in the exercise of the power of inquiry by the fact that methods and processes, judicial or quasi-judicial in character, are employed in the course of the inquiry. It is immaterial whether in the exercise of that power the legislative arm of the government is acting under or by virtue of granted or reserved. There's that word, reserved authority. Hale versus Henkel. There's a reserved right. That authority comes from the people and can be exercised, claimed and exercised by the people. And we instruct our representatives through that prayer for relief in the petition, or what the particular constitutional limitations may be that separate legislative from judicial functions of the government and that forbid the trespass of the one on the domain of the other. Legislative bodies, by the mere employment of methods of procedure that resemble those employed or required in judicial proceedings, are not to be held to be engaged in the exercise of a judicial function and to be thereby infringing upon the area exclusively assigned to the judicial department of the state government. Where the legislature has constitutional power to institute an investigation, the manner of conducting such investigation rests on the sound discretion of the legislature. All right, legislative investigating committees. So we have standing committees throughout the year. So technically speaking, you can walk in and lay your petition before the proper standing committee for the redress of grievances and demand an investigation to verify your claims, right, in the petition, in your short, brief statement of facts there. In your prayer for relief, you can demand an investigation to revoke their business license to see if they have exceeded the laws of its creation. The investigation of public matters before committees, preliminary to legislation, or with the view advising the House that appointed the committee, is a parliamentary usage. What? Parliamentary usage, as well established as it is in England, and the right of either house to compel witnesses to appear and testify before its committees and to punish for disobedience has been frequently enforced. How much more clear do we need to be? The right dictates we go there. The law dictates that we go there because the right is the law. So again, why are we not claiming and exercising this right, this power. And this would even apply to the, right? Because it was apply to the courts, wouldn't it? Because they're the ones that create them. Because the Constitution only creates the Supreme Court. The legislature creates all of the inferior courts. Therefore, the legislature does the investigation to see if it's exceeded the laws of its creation. This is a political argument, not a judicial one. All right. This is the thing about, knowledge is power, and learning what our rights are and how to effectively claim these rights and exercise these rights. We have to follow the law. We can't subvert the law either. We cannot not follow due process of law. Again, that's one of the biggest arguments out there, is people complaining about how, they're violating my rights. They're violating my right to due process of law. Well, why aren't the people following due process of law here? I don't get it. Can somebody explain to me why? I mean, I guess I could say, Captain Obvious here, that there's a lack of knowledge. Anybody disagree with that? That there's a lack of knowledge here? I think that's what's going on. Now, for those of you that have followed myself and Chris, we've taught this stuff over and over and over and over again. Not many people grasp this concept. And, I've heard it before. Oh, but our legislature's so corrupt. I don't care. Corruption is everywhere. That's no reason to not claim and exercise the right. That's not a reason to not follow due process of law. That's not a reason not to pick up these books and learn the rules of procedure under parliamentary practice, not judicial practice. Parliamentary practice. Because that's what we practice in the legislature, is parliamentary law, not judicial. Rules of procedure from the judicial branch don't apply to the rules of procedure in the legislative branch. Two totally different jurisdictions, bodies of law. That's right. Reading means reading. Always has, always will. But I'm doing my best to try and introduce you to the letter of the law, of what it says, how it dictates that this is our process. This is how we take back our powers. This is how we shut down the usurpations of power. Through the legislature, not the judicial. Well, of course, the question is not the word salad of legalese also fraud as well, since it is unrecognized language? That's the thing. You got to learn the proper words, proper diction, Stop using the bar word salad and start using proper diction, proper words. Like mother and father, not parent and child. Mother, father, son, daughter, not parent, child. See the difference in the words we use? Diction. It's so important. It is so important to learn these words. What's going on with my... Should be capturing the whole screen. You got a little blowed up. So, what are we looking at here? All right, so wanted to put out there that I'm on Rumble now, as well as Telegram. I have to come over here and pull this up. So I'm going to just share all 4 of them everywhere. Oh, well, allow me to copy? Edit. Okay, let's do edit. Let's see what that is. Come on. There we go. Alright, so YouTube, here you go. That's over to you. Now that's the Rumble channel. Of course, Facebook, this YouTube channel, and my Telegram. And I'm going to put it over here on Rumble as well. And then, of course, Facebook. Now, the other one, for those of you who want to help support, go through my Patreon if you want to get in on that. There's my Patreon. And this is, I've gotten them all mixed up now. There we go. Put these over here on Rumble. Alright, now how do I make another comment? Okay. That's weird. All right, so there's my Patreon. I think. I want it. There we go. So Wednesday night workshop is private, and that's 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday nights. And that's for those in Tier 3 or 4. Tier 1 and 2 basically is just basic support. Say thank you for your support. I do want to thank those that have recently joined there over the last week. Thank you so much. And for those of you that did join the Tier 4, I will definitely be getting with you shortly. A couple people ahead of you, but my personal life here is definitely slowing down a little bit. With definitely done with remodeling stuff. I just still got to get my stuff moved, which I've been working on. Moving toolboxes and all that good, fancy, happy stuff. But anyways, so I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And if you want to hang out in Telegram for a little bit of an after show, kind of like what we did last week, you join me over here on Telegram. If you don't have Telegram, you might want to get it, because that's predominantly where I hang out now, is on Telegram. I don't do a whole lot on Facebook much anymore, because I keep getting the little strikey things there. So we all know that heavily censored on Facebook and YouTube, which I'm surprised nothing came out of last week's videos, either YouTube or Facebook. So and do I go there? I think I'll save it for next week. Next Monday, possibly, unless I'm busy or I don't get around to Monday Night Law. But I've got a few court cases, of course, about the whole mask stuff, and how it's unconstitutional, or how it's unlawful. So I'll be putting that stuff out next week. And part of what I'm doing here is I'm laying the groundwork. I'm laying the framework of government and our rights that dictate how this is supposed to happen. We need to come together. We need to learn this process. We need to learn to follow the rules of procedure. We need to learn how to shut this stuff down. So on Telegram, we have We the People, #2.us. Surprised Kick Rocks made you think of Chris when I'm the one that talked about Kick Rocks. I don't know why everybody keeps thinking it was Chris. I've been saying Kick Rocks for years. But anyways, other than that we were together on here. But next week, I'm going to be laying some of this stuff out. And We the People, #2, on Telegram. Also, We the People 2.us on the interweb. They even have social media there. But the key is to get in with We the People 2. We're going through there. And we've got state groups so that we can effectuate this remedy and relief. It's time to start holding these people responsible. And we got a few people that are organized and working on this for a few months now. So we'd probably be a little further along if I wasn't so darn busy. But we're getting there. And this is nationwide. all 50 states. So if you want to get active, you want to learn what to do here, what we're going to be doing, please get on Telegram. Get into the We the People Too.us on Telegram, and we'll get you to your particular state, or you can get it through the website. We're trying to bring unity. We're trying to bring people together, and so that we can hold these public servants responsible. You know, there's no reason why we can't come together and unite and take action. But we have to follow due process of law, right? I mean, no man is above the law, and ignorance of the law is no excuse. So, again, it would behoove us to follow the law. That's at least what I'm thinking. Have been for years. Making sure that we're following the law. Otherwise, for donations, if you'd like to just make a donation to the office, send it to me at the office, 6477 West Fairview Avenue, Suite C as in Charlie, Boise, Idaho 83704. And same as before, you know, them postal money orders, cashier's checks, regular money orders, checks, whatever, cash wrapped in aluminum foil. Some of you might remember that one. To help support what we got going on here. We're kicking butt, and I'm still doing stuff in the court cases. Well, one court case, really. Like I said before, I had 2 of them dismissed. And once I get through this stuff, I'll be coming out with it. But I'm just not ready yet. Those in Patreon have a pretty good idea of what's going on, as I share with them in the private. So, again, for those of you that want to hang out in the Patreon, or not Patreon, pardon me, Telegram, get on my Telegram channel and hang out for the after show there. Okay? So other than that, I'm calling it a night here for the live, other than the live on Telegram. So if you don't have Telegram, go get it. If you want to be over there with us. So Yep. What's going on here? Why is it still showing on Facebook? Screen share. Weird. Unless Facebook's just being funny. Aha, there we go. All right. Much love, everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I know it's kind of late out there on the Eastern Coast, but this is kind of our normal time and what we did it. But yep. Thanks, Michelle, for putting that out there. We the People Too Social is a new social media. So they have that going on over there. Let me see if it stops moving. Alright, I'm going to post that over here on Rumble. And I'll get it out on UBTubi. Too many characters. That's weird for a web link. Copy link address. Send it over here in YouTube. Why? Okay, that's because it's trying to put Facebook in front of it. Yeah, no. Not Facebook. Just give me the frickin' link. Jeez. Why is it? I know what I'll do. I'll just open it in a new... Oh. Yeah. Go to the link. Thank you. Let's try that again. There you go. It's free to sign up. Free, just like Facebook and everything else. So, yeah, I know. Well, don't really like me putting much of this stuff out there, so never have. Okay, so we're good to go, I think. Everybody got the... I don't know why it's not allowing me to make any more comments on my Rumble, but maybe I have to try that. Aha, there we go. Let's try that. Perfect. Okay. All that's out there now. We the People too. Again, get on Telegram if you want to hang out for an after show. Okay? Much love, everybody. Have a wonderful night. And I may or may not see you next week, but more than likely.